Okay, so slightly delayed after an absolutely monumental thunderstorm, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get wet today, but thankfully I'm on the Goldwing and I've got my waterproofs stashed away. And I thought, well, I've got the Goldwing, I might as well go and do some exploring, and this actually might be the basis for some content on the channel going forward. So I thought I'm going to go and have a look at some interesting places and share those with you, talk a little bit about the bike and see how it goes. So some of the numbers on this bike, just to get those out of the way. It is a 6-cylinder 1833cc motor. That puts out 125 horsepower, 170 newton meters of torque. It weighs in at 365 kilograms, so it's pretty hefty. Seat height from memory 745 millimeters, so nice and low on the seat. It's got a 21.1 litre fuel tank, and if you want to buy one of these, this particular model, which is the Goldwing B with the DCT gearbox, that is going to set you back 23,999, so a penny short of £24,000. But anyway, so today I'm out on a trip. I'm going to do some exploring. I thought about doing these videos and covering several themes, or just a theme for a single video. It'll be a bit of a mixed bag today, as this is just a trial. So I'm heading from my hometown, which is near Braintree in Essex, and first call is going to be Shotley, and there's an interesting place that I wanted to visit there. So out to the coast, have a look around, and from there we'll go from place to place, and hopefully there'll be a mix of riding, mix of chat about the bike, and a few facts about some of the places that we're going to. So if you're into that sort of thing, stick around and we'll see what we can find. Well, the sun's finally come out. The temperature's quickly gone from 21 degrees to 29 degrees, so I'm quite glad I'm wearing my Knox Urbane Pro utility shirt today. Boringly, I'm on the A12 now, so we'll check back in again as we get closer to our first destination. One piece of notable architecture I thought I'd show you on the way is the Orwell Bridge. So called because it goes over the River Orwell, no connection to George Orwell, the author. Pretty impressive piece of concrete structure, and the road that runs under it and alongside the River Orwell is pretty scenic. I've been here a couple of times when the tide's been in, and it's actually been flooded, so you do have to be careful. And this is the River Orwell that runs up, and you've got the River Stour that comes across the other side, and they kind of meet at where we're heading to. We're up to 30 degrees now, and we're not too far away, probably about 5-6 miles away from our intended location. See you in a bit. So we're just now on the hill on the run down to Shotley Gate. So there you have the docks of Felixstowe. You've got Harwich over there. This is the marina itself. Nice little place, very popular. And at the end here, I'll turn around, you've got a shop, a pub called the Shipwreck, and the fish and chips in here is absolutely fantastic. They're triple cooked chips and they're really good. So if you want some really good fish and chips and a nice view, the Shipwreck at Shotley Gate is the place to come. But that's not why I'm bringing you here. I'm here to go to another location nearby, so we'll have a look at that when we get there. Well, this is what I came here for, and it'll become apparent as we go further into the site. But this is the site of HMS Ganges, which is a boys' training establishment for the Royal Navy, or was a boys' training establishment. Now originally HMS Ganges was a training ship, or based on a hulk down in Plymouth in 1865. It then moved to Harwich, and then in 1905 it became what's known as a stone frigate. So that's effectively a land-based ship here at Shotley. And over in the distance there you can see some of the rigging from the original HMS Ganges, which was moored off here when it was moved, and then that rigging was taken and put on this site for the boys to use as training. And apparently it was quite a brutal place for a young lad. As we get closer we'll see exactly why, but there's quite a lot of recordings of deaths here through accidents. It's an incredible site, really interesting if you like history as I do. It has been acquired and it is being developed, so apparently the rigging they're going to restore and keep that as a landmark. There's just lots of these outbuildings here, but I'm not going to go into any of the outbuildings. That's A, would definitely be trespassing, and B, a lot of these are pretty derelict and won't be particularly safe, as you can see. I'm quite interested in urban exploring, but as I say, it is trespassing and a little bit dangerous, and particularly if you're on your own and a bit of roof falls in on you or flooring gives way, not a great idea. So I'm just going to show you this from the outside, just a quick view. So this place opened in 1905 and was taken out of commission in 1976. Actually before then, quite famously on a British TV programme, Blue Peter, children's programme for those of you that remember that, John Noakes climbed to the top of this rigging, but he didn't quite make it to the button at the top. He crapped himself, and to be honest I don't blame him. But you can see there's a section here hanging down which would have been at the top of the mast, and originally there would have been a small flat wooden button, as they called it. So when the recruits for training and for shows climbed up the rigging, came with no safety harnesses, they would stand along these cross braces, and then this section here that you can see that was right at the top, there was a button on the top of that, and the last boy up, who was called the button boy, would actually stand on the top of that. So looking at this, I think you can kind of understand why there were quite a few fatalities of young lads falling off of here. So you can see some of the main cross brace here that formed part of this bit here. So hopefully, as I said, they're going to restore this to its former glory when this becomes whatever else it is. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's a huge site. I'm not going to show all of it. In the far distance there, again, I'm not going to go over there, but there is kind of a bunker. This was would have been a strategic place, certainly if there was an invasion from the east. This would where it would be coming through. In actual fact, you can't see it on this camera because it's too small, too far away, but right out in the distance there, there's a place called Lanyard Fort, which was a King Henry VIII built, and that's a fort that was there to repel any attacks into this harbour, because that gives you access then to the Stour down that way and the River Orwell that way. This is absolutely enormous site, really interesting. So I will put links to all of these places in the bottom if you want to go and have a look. If you're into your history, then you can go and do some research. You can only begin to imagine what this was like when it was teeming with young naval recruits. I think they joined at the age of 14, around about that, until 16 when they were old enough to join the Navy. So this prepared them for life on ships, and then they were off to sea. But there you go, that's the first spot. Thought that might be interesting for you, and I'm going to leave here now and head to our next location, which is something different but hopefully interesting too. So I'm just leaving Shotley now to head to the next venue. It's about 25 miles away, And I thought I'd talk a little bit more about the bike. I love the clock setup with the speedometer. You've got all your sort of air temperature and MPG and range and stuff in that corner. You can see what modes you're in this corner, and it leaves that big TFT screen in the middle. Not touch screen because it's behind glass, but you've got all of these controls to be able to use that. Really intuitive to use, very simple, and so far it's worked really well. This bike as well has the DCT gearbox, so it's a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and the more I ride them the more I love them, particularly on this type of bike. It's just effortless. It's like having a Rolls Royce. I guess it's the Rolls Royce of motorcycles, and you just waft around. So much torque coming out of that 1800 6-cylinder motor that it's just, everything's easy, everything's cool. But if you do flick it into sports mode, it will get on. And I've noticed as well, I was thinking that I've been leaning it quite a bit in some of the bends, and I was a little bit worried about bottoming out the pegs or the exhaust. So far I've leaned it about as far as I would really want to, and I've came nowhere near that. So the people that are scraping exhaust, I think, are doing it on purpose. But anyway, enough of that. So luxurious bike to ride, all the mod cons. I've got, as it says, 23 miles to go. I'll see you at the next destination. Our next stop is a shorter one, and I'm at a place called Rendlesham Forest, a big pine forest on the outskirts of Woodbridge, and this is the scene of the UK's biggest UFO sighting. In December 1980, many bright lights were seen in the sky. Lots of eyewitnesses, and the mystery has kind of evolved and grown since then. And this has essentially become the site of the UK's biggest UFO conspiracy. I guess for the UK, this is our Area 51, our Roswell, because there were stories of some kind of unidentified flying object landing here. We're not that far away from RAF Woodbridge, which was a US Air Force base at the time. They've denied, obviously, anything going on. Now, whether you believe in UFOs or not, then that's something for you to decide. But it's an interesting story. There's a lot of history around it, and actually if you come to these forests and have a walk around, there is a UFO trail that you can follow. It's a beautiful place to come. I've been mountain biking here. It's a nice place to come and walk if you get the opportunity. Rendlesham Forest, just outside Woodbridge, and if you come here at night, you never know what you'll see. So that was the site of the UK's most well-known, I guess, UFO supposed landings. This road is the B1084, and it's a really nice biking road. It runs down to, if you want to a little place called Orford. There's a quay and a place to get something to eat, which is really nice. But I thought whilst I'm here, I'll have another chat about some aspects of the bike. And one of those is the modes. Now, I've spent most of today in tour mode, which is nice and relaxed, short shifts. It gets up the box really early, but it's very easy to change those modes. To click on the mode button here, you'll see it flicking through. I'm on tour here. A flick of that button puts it to sport. If I shut the throttle, it's in sports mode, and then you can flick through economy, rain, and back to touring. Now, there's a real difference to those, and they work really well. This is an absolutely beautiful biking road, as you can see. Let's get that other camera down out of the way. You can see how lovely this is, especially on a day like today. There's an opportunity here. You can see why this is an incredibly popular road. And actually, the Rendlesham Forest, the site of that UFO, or supposedly UFO landing, is the eastern gate at the end of the runway, which is actually a little bit further over there. So I didn't go fully to the right place, but there's a public car park down there where you have to pay to park, and then it's actually a bit of a trek to get to the actual location. So I spared you those details, and I've spared myself a walk in the temperature, which is about 34 degrees currently. So now we've just got a short hop. I've plugged into the sat nav my next location. We're only about 15-16 miles away, so I'll see you as we get there.
Everything will be okay. Promise I will always wait for you to go and find your own way. We'll hide the time as the sun passes.
We're now entering into the town of Framlingham, famous for a couple of reasons. Mostly the castle, but also it is the home of Ed Sheeran. Very nice little town. I can imagine actually today it may be quite busy. We're behind a learner driver and a very impatient person in a Renault Megane that's not giving them any space. Come on mate, everybody's got to start somewhere. But if you do get the chance to get out to this part of the world to do some riding, please do so. It's very scenic. There's some beautiful roads. But you can see it's a lovely little town. So this is Framlingham Castle. I couldn't get an invite to Ed Sheeran's house, so this is the best we can do. So as you can see, this is Framlingham Castle. A pretty impressive ruin, albeit, but this dates back to the 12th century and had been the home of the Duke of Norfolk or the seat of Duke of Norfolk for some 400 years. Things got a little bit more exciting here though in 1553 when Mary Tudor tried, with her ascension of the throne after the death of her father King Henry VIII. There was no male heir. She attempted to take over, as it were, and this was her seat. This is where she based her campaign, if you like, and got a lot of people behind it. She actually did become the Queen, so Mary Tudor was the first English Queen, and she reigned from 1553 until her death in 1558. A very interesting character. She earned the nickname Bloody Mary because in her time here as a devout Catholic, she was trying to turn over the Reformation that her father had put in place with the Church of England, and during that period of her reign, the 5 years, over 300 religious objectors, if you like, were burnt at the stake. So yeah, pretty evil times back there, but this is still a fantastic place to come and have a wander around. Lots of history in this part of the world, and hopefully this will do you in the absence of going to see Ed Sheeran. So that was Framlingham Castle. This is Framlingham itself, beautiful little town. So I've got about 50 miles to get to my next destination, so I'm gonna chomp across, and then that may well be the last one, and we'll finish up there. I'll concentrate on munching some miles, and I'll see you at the next location. So I've switched back to the center camera because my GoPro Hero 8 has given up in the heat and the battery's just had enough, so that's plugged in here, charging up, and I've got a nice hour-and-a-half ride to my next venue, and I'm going to be riding through countryside like this. So I'll show you some snippets as we go through, but it will be on this camera whilst the Hero 8 is having a charge. And we're just onto the roads that this Goldwing eats up. It's such an enjoyable bike to ride. It is the DCT, it works perfectly, it makes for a very relaxing journey. It just eats up the mileage. It's supremely comfortable. It's like riding an armchair, and you can still have some fun on the twisties. So this A1120 is sometimes called the Suffolk Tourist Route. It's a really nice road. If you get a chance to ride it, do so. It's cooled down a little bit now, 29 degrees. Thankfully the thunderstorm that held me up this morning, none of those have reappeared so far, although you know what my track record's like, so I'm not going to tempt fate and talk about that too much. Now time's moving on, it's getting a bit later in the day than I was hoping because I had that delayed start. So I'm going to get to the next spot, which is going to be the last one of the day. Oh, some nice old motors in there. Mustang convertible, Daimler, early Beamer, Sierra, very nice Merc, another Sierra, Rover, Land Rover Capri, nice. Gammas, I'll have to have a look at them. And these beautiful biking roads just keep going. I've just come through Stowe Market. I'm on the other side of that now, and traipse along. And interestingly, the sat nav is telling me my next turn in 1.2 miles has no road name, so let's just hope it's not a dirt track. Surely Honda wouldn't do this to me with the Goldwing and their own sat nav, but we'll find out. Okay, well this is the road with no name. It heads to Rattlesden. This looks like it might be another absolutely cracking road. There's just so much in this part of the world. I'm not even trying to find the most twisty routes. I've just got this Honda sat nav set on the shortest route, and it's paying dividends so far. Another thing whilst I think of it, big flat six, 1833 cc's, and this has been recording. I've been riding it in tour mode most of the time, few bits and pieces on sport, but it's been returning 53 to 55 miles per gallon, and that's pretty good. When you fill this up, it gives you way over, well, I filled it up in Framlingham and it's showing me 257 miles of range, and I can imagine I would get that. And if you're doing motorway cruising, then sticking it on economy is going to make that even better. So in the mid to high 50s for a bike that weighs, what did I say, 365 kilos and has a 1.8 litre engine, I think that's pretty good.
you. There's a feeling in my heart so strange. Baby, I don't want you to change. Just stay the same, and everything will be okay. Promise I will always wait for you to go and find your own way.
So last stop of the day is in this quiet little sleepy village in Essex called Castle Camps, and I've stopped here because this was a World War II airfield, and here is a memorial for it. There's a list of the squadrons that flew from this airfield: 85, 111, 73, etc. A little map. There was actually 3 runways here at one point for RAF Castle Camps, and there's not much of it left now. It is now farmland. We can go and have a look, and that's what's happened to most of the US Air Force bases. There were tons of them in this area, and most of them now have been turned over to farmland, but you can still see evidence here, a concrete path. There's some big buildings in the background over there, and if you were to view from the air, then you can see some remnants of the runways that were here, and I'll see if I can find a picture from Google Maps to show you. But there's a lot of those in this area, and it's something that I've got a particular interest in. My father was in the parachute regiment. He was a prisoner of war in World War II, and so I've been interested in the history. I'm a bit of a history buff anyway, or history nerd, and I've been interested in learning some of the stories here. There's some really good stories, there's some really sad stories as well, and so I thought I'd end the day on here, because there's a lot of these around, and this is the sort of thing that I want to include on the Tony's Tiny Tours. It'd be interesting to find out some of the stories, learn a little bit more about what went on these bases, what squadrons flew from them, where they were from, maybe some of the individual stories, and that may be of interest to you out there. Not only in the UK, I've got quite a few people that watch my channel from the US, and there were huge amounts of US servicemen on the airfields here in the latter part of the war, so there might be some stories that resonate with those people as well. So as I say, if you want to know more, or if this is something that you'd like to see going forward, then let me know. I've touched on some of the other bits and pieces. I've looked at castles with Framlingham, I've looked at a few other interesting historical sites, HMS Ganges and the UFO site of Rendlesham. Maybe not that important, but that was just en route between Shotley and heading through to Framlingham, so I thought I would stop there. But yeah, it's something I might add to the channel. It's something I'd like to do. So this is really going to be treated much like a pilot episode, I suppose. So the amount of likes and the feedback I get from this will determine whether it's worthwhile progressing on and putting more content out like this. And the whole idea is to also not just talk about some of those interesting parts, but also have a really nice riding road as well. The route today was fantastic. Some bits getting through Ipswich wasn't the best part, but once you're through there, and certainly from the castle over to here, the roads are just absolutely fantastic. So anyway, I'm going to get back home. I'm in my own neck of the woods now, so I'm going to get on this fantastic machine and ride home. I'm tired, I'm hot, I'm hungry. I could certainly do with a beer. I've been ably assisted today by the Honda Goldwing B, an absolutely fantastic machine, incredibly comfortable, has munched miles. The only time it's held me back is a couple of dirt tracks that I saw when I was out and about today, which I would have liked to have gone down, but other than that, it does pretty much everything else. I've had it for the last 2 weeks. It's going back tomorrow, which is why I wanted to put this content out. I never thought I would like it, but over the last 2 weeks I've had it, I've grown to absolutely love it. I think it's a fantastic looking bike. It's wonderful to ride. That DCT gearbox is a dream. It's got all the tricks on it that you need, and luggage space as well, and I think without the big seat that the touring model has, it's a much nicer looking bike as well. So I'm going to jump back on this, get home, and I'll catch up with you later. Yeah, that guy and his dog are having a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I say, it's a pilot episode, so I didn't spend a lot of time at each of the different venues, and I didn't go into too much detail on each of the stories. It is just a taster. If it's the sort of thing that you enjoyed watching and you'd like to see more of, let me know in the comments section down below. I'll put links to all the places in the description, and I've also got GPX files for the route, and I'll find a way of putting those somewhere where you'll be able to download them. If you did like the video, please hit that like button, and also consider hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified of new videos that are coming through. That would be very much appreciated. And all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.